gives the name that it is corona. So coronavirus, that is how it is known as coronavirus. The coronavirus are not new to us. Don't think that this is a new virus which has come and attacked us. No, coronavirus have been there with us for many, many, many years, because some people do get small common cold, cough, sneezing, running nose. These are all because of the coronavirus. And you must be knowing that a few years back we had SARS, the SARS which killed a majority of the infected people, maybe around 6 to 7 people out of 10 people. That is a coronavirus. And then came the MERS. MERS is the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. That also had a higher mortality, but these two viruses did not spread like wildfire. That is the difference. This present coronavirus, that is SARS-CoV-2, spreads like a wildfire. Next. So 2019 nCoV, now called as COVID-19, which falls into the genus beta coronavirus, which is found in human, bats and other wild animals. Do you note this point? And December 31st, 2009 is one of the most important dates to remember in humanity or human history, that China reported a cluster of cases of pneumonia from Wuhan. These pneumonias were not usual pneumonias. It was very difficult to treat these pneumonias, and then many people died of this pneumonia. Not only that, there came lots and lots of cases, such pneumonias to the Wuhan hospital, and these cases appear to be spread from the Wuhan meat and fish wet market, where exotic animals were sold for food. So we don't eat exotic animals for food, but you can see the Wuhan market. Next. So this is the 1 or 2 pictures of the Wuhan market. See what variety of items are kept for human being to consume. You can see lizards, you can see rats, you can see bats. So a hell of a lot of kind of stuff is sold in the Wuhan market. And this is the place where the coronavirus originated from the animals and it went to the human being. Next. Now, how do SARS-CoV-2 transmission occurs? It occurs from the animals. Say, for example, from camels, it came to human in the MERS, that the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. And similarly, now the coronavirus came from, it is believed that it came from bats and snakes to the human. So it is a zoonotic. Zoonotic means zoo. Zoo means animal. So zoonotic disease, coronavirus, and it is transmitted from animals to people. The human-to-human transmission is only by close contact. That when you go near to a patient who has coronavirus positive, coughing, sneezing, personal contact, and all those things produces the infection. Next. Now, SARS-CoV-2 transmission, I will a little bit elaborate on this, that the predominant mode of transmission is person to person, and it is through the viral respiratory droplets from the cough, sneezing, and talking of an infected person. Now, in an infected person, there is a high level of viral shedding in the upper respiratory tract. So these viruses, they get dispersed into the air when somebody sneezes or coughs in front of you, and then you get the virus very easily. Now, to be precise, that the peak infectious period of a person who is infected with coronavirus is 1 or 2 days before they develop the symptoms. Next. So what are the signs of coronavirus infection? You have fever, cough, and tiredness. Fever, I would like you to concentrate on the fever, that the fever is not the usual fever what you get in the other diseases. It may be for 1 day or half a day, or it may be for 10 days together. So it can come and go that you may not even know that fever has come. And you will have severe tiredness, cough, and then some of them will get loss of smell and loss of taste. So if you have loss of smell and loss of taste, take it as a good sign. You are lucky that people you usually get loss of smell and loss of taste, their disease course is very mild. So they don't go into severe diseases. Now, some people have shortness of breath or difficulty in breathing. That means you have already come to the late stage. You are not in the early stage. And then you will have muscle aches, chills, sore throat, because the virus from the nose, upper respiratory tract goes into your throat, and then the sore throat starts. And then you have runny nose and headache. Some people may have chest pain, some people may have loose stools, some people may have skin rashes also. Next. Now the clinical pictures, as I told you earlier, that incubation period will be from 2 to 14 days. So any day between the 2nd and the 14 days of infection, you can have the disease manifested outside. And then 25% of the patients may remain asymptomatic. You don't have any symptoms at all, no fever, no cough, no body pain, no headache, nothing. So you are still corona positive. Now, the other 75% of the patients will have symptoms. These symptoms can be mild, these can be moderate, this can be critical also. The mild symptoms, majority of the patients, I would like to say that it is around 80% of the people will have only mild symptoms, and 15% of the people may have moderate and they may slip into severe disease, and 5% of the people who come very critically ill come to the ICU, and usually it is very difficult to save them. Next. So what are the complications you should know about COVID-19 complications? Can be divided into two: respiratory and non-respiratory. Respiratory is adult respiratory distress syndrome. That is what makes you very severely ill. That is because of the pneumonia and hypoxia. Hypoxia means less oxygen concentration in the body. And the non-respiratory complications because of the respiratory complications, that is septic shock, acute kidney injury, and disseminated intravascular coagulation. What is meant by disseminated intravascular coagulation? You would have seen in the papers, you would have seen, especially in WhatsApp, so many people get WhatsApp messages that corona disease is not pneumonia, it is clogging of blood clots in your lung and in your blood vessels. That is correct. In other words, to make it very simple, that there will be a bleeding tendency and clotting tendency in the body, which usually do not happen. But in case of corona disease, some people can get microemboli, microthromboemboli in the lungs, in the blood vessels. So that is disseminated intravascular coagulation. And some people will have acute cardiac injury. Next. Now, we all have some kind of high-risk population amongst us. Who are the high-risk population which we have to particularly look into? So people of all ages. I don't differ them by looking at ages. That people having chronic lung disease, chronic heart disease, chronic uncontrolled diabetes, chronic kidney disease, chronic liver disease, immunocompromised individual. What is immunocompromisation? That the immunity is less in the body. That is cancer patients, chronic steroid use for some other diseases, organ transplant patients, HIV/AIDS, and immune deficiency diseases. These are all the immunocompromised individual. And mind that severe obesity can also predispose to coronavirus infection. And similarly, chronic smokers, tobacco chewers, drug abusers. Next. So we should think about the viral load also here. For getting infected, the number of viral particles into the duration of exposure is very important. That is, if you are in a high viral load area, maybe in a COVID hospital, if you visit the corridor or the casualty, you may be exposed to a larger number of viral particles. Similarly, the duration of exposure time, you stay there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. So this factor adds to the infectivity for the individual. So at least 1,000 viral particles are required to infect a person. So cough and sneezing produces 200 million viral particles. Breathing, 20 viral particles per minute, and speaking loud, 200 viral particles per minute. Next. Now what happens if somebody at 2 meters, they are coughing? So you can see in this cartoon that the blackish fog-like thing going away from the mouth of the individual. Some of the droplets, they just fall very near to the person and a little further also. So around 2 meters, the droplet fall on the surface or on the table or chair or whatever it is nearby. And the rest of the fine particle, you can see that it is airborne. So these airborne small particles stay in the air for a longer period. This is what I am telling in a closed room or in an air-conditioned room. Not outside, not in the park, not in the corridor, like that. So this is a closed room scenario. Next. So this is a very interesting question. Have anybody thought about this? How many times you touch your face? Touching your face can significantly increase the risk of infection because you touch a surface where the coronavirus are there, and then you touch your face with that fingers, you can get coronavirus infection. And eyes and mouth are areas where virus can enter into your body. Studies found that people touch their face more than 16 times an hour. So you may be scratching, you may be touching, you know, and whatnot. You will be doing all sorts of things on your face in an hour's time. So even if you wash your hands in between, the odds of recontaminating our hands between washing are extremely high. Next. So hence the mask. So what is the use of the mask? Mask must be worn very correctly. That is very important. It is not just a piece of paper or piece of cloth which is hanging on your face. Where mask must be worn very correctly so that you will prevent the infection. Never touch outside the mask. Why? Because the virus particles which are coming from the air come and get filtered through the mask. So the outside the mask, there will be a lot of viral particles. If you touch the mask from outside, your fingers will be contaminated. Again, you touch with that fingers your face, you can get infected. So wearing mask is of no use in such a scenario. Cloth masks still provide major protection. Don't run behind N95, 3-layered masks, a lot of masks in the market. Cloth mask will still provide a major protection. Why I am telling this is, inhaling large volume of viral particles are dangerous. So wearing a mask will limit the load of viruses which you are inhaling, so that even if you go into a high viral load area, your load of virus entering into your respiratory tract is less. Then you have seen that people who definitely wear protective masks in countries like Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, and Thailand, and so on and so forth. These people have less incidence of viral transmission. Next. So this is the way how you should wear a mask. You can see the mask should cover the nose, the mouth, and your chin. And then there should not be any gap between the mask and in your eyes, because it must be tightly pressed on the above the nose. So you can see that in TV shows or in some news, you can see people talking with the mask hanging on the chin, and then some people talk removing the mask. And these are all wrong things, and you should not touch your mask, the front side of the mask, and you should not share your mask with others. Next. Now, viability period of the different surfaces. So this is very important in point of view, and people are afraid to touch things which is coming from outside. paper, cardboard boxes, vegetables, and grocery items coming into the house. The first and foremost thing is aerosols are most dangerous. Aerosols can stay in the virus can stay in the aerosols about 8 hours in a closed room, whereas copper 4 hours, cardboard boxes 24 hours, stainless steel 48 hours, plastic 72 hours, shoes, very important, 5 days, water and sewage weeks together. But don't worry. If you get something, you just leave it outside. Maybe preferably you can leave it in the sunlight where things can be kept in the sunlight or in the veranda or in the corridor, and touch it later, and then with a proper hand sanitizer, and then you can take it. Not that all infected virus particles will come through these inanimate subjects into your house. So you can be safe enough if you have a hand sanitizer. But shoes, if you go out, especially go to the hospital and come back, keep the shoes outside. Don't bring any chappals or shoes inside the house. That is very important. Next. Now, there are certain sanitizers which you can use for the virus. Sodium hypochlorite for cleaning the house. 70% ethyl alcohol is your sanitizer. Soap, very good. Hand washing, the cheapest and best sanitizer. Povidone iodine, which doctors use to clean the wound. Hydrogen peroxide. Heat kills the virus in 90 minutes. But you look at the temperature, that is 56 degrees Celsius or 133 degrees Celsius. So people generally say that, oh, let summer come. In the summer, the coronavirus will die. No, say in summer, what is the maximum temperature it goes in summer? That is the thing. So UV radiation can clear this, sunlight can clear this, but chlorhexidine-based disinfectants are not very good to eliminate coronavirus. Next. Now I am coming to the second part of my talk and the middle part of my talk, that this everybody is waiting for this, what you should do if you are tested positive for corona. First and the foremost advice what I have to give you is, do not panic. If you panic, things are gone. You will do things which is not desirable. You will run away, you will run around, you do not know what to do. So never panic if you are tested positive for corona. That is very important, because why I am telling this authoritatively is 80% of the cases, the course will be mild and you will become all right with some antivirals or even simple paracetamol. You will become all right. Don't worry. Now, treatment is different for different people. That let the medical officer decide about it. You don't decide that. So contact your family physician first, and he will guide you further. Sometimes the judgment of even the family physician can go wrong. That I have seen that many of my cases, which has come as mild cases to me, I said, okay, let us wait, let us treat it like this, and let us see that if something happens, we will, again, you come back to me. Oh, some of the cases have gone into moderate disease, and some of the cases have gone into severe disease. So upfront, we do not know that who will go into moderate disease, who will go into severe disease. So constantly keep in touch with your physician, so that the physician can judge whether you are going from mild to moderate or moderate to severe. So you may be one among the 80% of people who will have only mild disease. So that is the very happy things which you can think about. And now home isolation treatment is the standard protocol now. Why do you worry? You need not get admitted to the hospital if you are corona positive. If you are mildly positive, you still have a lot of options sitting at the comfort of your house. Next. Now, home isolation, patients are eligible for home isolation. The ICMR guidelines and the state government guidelines have clearly said there are certain guidelines whom we should judge that they should be eligible for home isolation. So what we will see is that we see that there are very mild or pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic COVID-19 cases, we treat them at home. But the house should have a facility for self-isolation. There must be a separate room and separate toilet, and the patient should be confined into the room till we say that, okay, you can come out. and the person should wear a mask even if inside the house. If you are inside the room where you are isolated in a room, you should wear a mask, because you are likely to spread the virus into the others. So you should be isolated in the room with wearing a mask. And there must be facility for the quarantine of family contacts. All the others should have different rooms, and rooms away from your room, and especially the elderly. Please take care of the elderly, because the most important thing is to safeguard the elderly people in the family. That's very important. And similarly, if somebody is immunocompromised, they are not eligible for the home isolation. And people more than 60 years with the comorbid conditions like hypertension, diabetes, chronic lung and kidney disease will be allowed for home isolation after proper evaluation by the medical officer. Next. Now, you have to communicate the caregiver always. Even if you are in the home quarantine, you must communicate with your caregiver. See, today I am like this. I don't have fever. I don't have body ache. So, or I am coughing too much. My cough is, coming over and over. So I am not able to sleep. Such things you should communicate your caregiver. For a home isolation, I would say that you should have a minimum a pulse oximeter. Pulse oximeter is 1 meter which measures your oxygen saturation in the body. The second thing is a thermometer to check your temperature. So these two things are very important, and report to the medical officer if you develop breathing difficulty, if you keep your oxygen saturation less than 95%, and if you have pressure in the chest, or if you have mental confusion, you are developing bluish discoloration of the lip or face, that means you are having less oxygen in the body. So these are the warning signs where you should immediately report to your medical officer. And wear mask, that I already told you. And under home isolation, patients will be discharged after 10 days. If they are okay, we will wait till 10 days and they will be discharged. And then that discharge from the day of onset of symptoms. That is it, the day from you get the fever, or the day from you get the cough. And now we will discharge them only if there are no fever for 3 days, because some people run fever for even 10 days. So if there are no fever for last 3 days and you have already passed 10 days from the day of onset of symptoms, we will discharge you. Now, thereafter, there will be an isolation for another 7 more days at home, so that you will not spread the disease to others. Next. Now, stages of COVID-19, this cartoon is very important. I do not know whether how many people can identify or understand this picture. That I would say that this is mainly used by the doctors, but there is no harm. The public should also know this, because this is very important. Stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Now, the first stage, that is from the beginning of the infection to the next 10 days, is the viral response phase. The virus replicates, triplicates in your body. So that is the viral response phase. So on the 5th day of the viral replication phase, that is from the day of onset, that is the first dotted line you are seeing. The 5th day, you have the symptoms, but it is mild, because the virus is yet replicating. Now, from the first dotted line to second dotted line is stage 2 or stage 2A. And from the second dotted line to third dotted line, stage 2B. So stage 2A and stage 2B, there is a host inflammatory response phase, because the body behaves abnormally to the virus. By the time the virus is settling down, you can see the curve of the virus tapering narrow, whereas the host inflammatory response becoming widening towards stage 3. So stage 3 is hyperinflammation phase. So if the body inflammatory response is very high, you go into the severe stage, that's stage 3. So what I mean to say by this cartoon is, you treat early, hit hard, hit early. That is the important. So the moment, the day you get the symptoms, the day you get the fever, you contact the medical officer. Not that 1 or 2 days say you, okay, you take paracetamol and you take some native medicine, 2 days gone. Third days you go to the doctor and say, oh, doctor says, yes, do a COVID test. And then you go to a lab and or the corporation. And then what happens is it takes 1 day more. So already 5 days are gone. You have wasted 5 days. Precious 5 days, the viral response phase have gone, and you have already started into the host inflammatory response phase. You have already gone to the moderate stage. So this is the message I have to give you from this cartoon, that definitely you should start early. That is very important. Next. So start treatment early, report to the medical caregiver the day one of symptoms, and then if you delay treatment, the cytokine storm or the exaggerated immune response of your body will start. So treatment is difficult if you developed the cytokine storm, and most elderly people with comorbidities slip into this complication. That is why we say that protect the elderly, protect the comorbid peoples. So please avoid cytokine storm. It is in your hand. Report early, report to the medical officer early. Now, early reporting is very crucial. Next. I think this is the gist of what you call important things, what you should do when you get a coronavirus infection. Rest of the things the doctors will take care. Now, COVID-19 in babies and children, most kids who are infected don't become as sick as adults. This is for your information. Immune system in children reacts to the virus differently, and newborn can become infected during birth from infected mother. And although rare, children under age of 1 are at high risk of severe illness that you cannot prevent. And babies more than 2 years can wear masks. So be careful when you put a mask on your baby. Any baby less than 1 year, don't put the mask. The baby cannot remove the mask if it's getting suffocated. So be very careful when you give the mask to the babies. Next. So risk during pregnancy, that also is for your information. Currently not clear if pregnant women have a greater chance to getting sick. Further research is needed to determine this. And treatment depends upon the condition, that home care, whether hospital care, that all depends upon your condition. And if no comorbidities, the disease will be very mild. And you may be screened for the virus before you enter the labor room, because you are likely to infect the medical officer and the paramedical officer around you if you are COVID positive, so that they will take adequate precautions that it is not spread to others. And it isn't yet known that if COVID-19 virus can be transmitted through breast milk. But respiratory droplets from the mother during feeding can happen. So that is why the children get affected. Next.
Doctor, before going into the next slide, I'll just point out that a lot of questions have been pouring in, and we have got about more than 100 participants in the webinar live from Zoom and from Facebook.
Yes.
So participants, if you have questions, please let us know. Doctor, as soon as he is finishing with the presentation, Dr. Venugopal will be answering some of your questions. Thank you, sir.
You can start posting your questions in the Q&A sections and not in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will quickly run through the other slides, which are all for general information. What you should do to improve your lung health. Absolutely stop smoking. Do not touch cigarette, because I'll tell you, see, your hand will be contaminated. The cigarette you buy from the shop, the man who gives you picks up one cigarette and gives to you, can transmit the virus through the cigarette to you, and then you are directly keeping it to your mouth. So stop smoking, and that will help your lung also, and that will prevent transmission also. Now, breathing exercises is very important. You should learn pranayama, steam inhalation, or simple breathing exercises, warm saline gargling, because you can clear off the viruses from the mouth. And we do practice gargling, and the surgeons practice gargling before they go into the theater, because that washes off the what do you call, viruses in the throat. Now, good nutrition is very important. Exercise. Do not sit at home when you sit at home, do not sit in front of the TV or relax. You do exercises, and you should have very good sleep. Next. So to develop immunity, there are a lot of things, that you have a lot of native medicines, you have grandma's recipes, all of them you can try. So there is no harm in trying. So nutrients are very vital for boost immunity. Fruits like papaya, guava, without me telling you, that green vegetables are very good. Protein pulses contain a lot of essential micronutrients, milk products, dietary fibers, plenty of sunlight. This is one point which I wanted to stress here, that vitamin D is very important in preventing COVID-19 complications and even the disease itself. So simply swallowing vitamin D capsules are not enough. Sometimes it may not get absorbed, you may get a vitamin D toxicity also. So what you should do is at least go to the sunlight, exposed to the sunlight for at least 10 to 15 minutes. If you are a white-skinned person, you can be there for about 5 minutes. If you are a slightly dark-skinned person, you can be there for about 10 minutes. And if you are a very dark person, you can stay there about 15 minutes in sunlight. And the good time to have sunlight, sunbathing is from morning 10:30 a.m. to evening 3 o'clock. You have plenty of time in between. Go to the terrace, go to the balcony, wherever it is, take off your shirt and maximum expose your body to the sunlight. So this is very important. And vitamin C. Vitamin C, you can take tablets, or else you can get plenty of vitamin C. You can get oranges, lemon, a lot of things which contains vitamin C. Jaggery is very useful iron. And you drink plenty of water. You should have a lots of water intake, and then especially warm water like tea, coffee, vegetable soups, and a lot of things. And you could sleep minimum 7 hours a day. There must be absolute mental peace, no tension. And follow all your usual medicines for diabetes, medicines for pressure, or whatever the doctors have given you. Don't stop that lockdown, so I can stop everything. No, don't do that, because I tell you that you have seen in the papers that the death rate today, so many people died in a private hospital, so many people died in a government hospital. All these deaths may not be because of corona. It may be because of the complications which has arisen because they don't get treated, they don't go to the hospital, they don't meet the cardiologist. It can be heart attacks, it can be stroke, and you can be anything. So do not stop your medicines. That is very, very important. Next. So thing to remember are, wear your mask. Go out of your home only if necessary. And physical distance. I will not say social distancing. Social distancing is not a good term. Physical distancing is the major thing. So you keep a distance from the other person. That the physical distancing is very most important, that at least 1 meter away. If anybody coming into your house, some vendors, anybody coming into yours, don't go very near to them. Keep a distance of 1 meter and wear mask. You see that the vendor also wears a mask, or tell him to wear a mask before you buy some things. Now there must be frequent hand washing. And that we have learned that no shake handing, no hugging. So Italy has learned a lesson by hugging, and the corona spread like wildfire in Italy. And next thing is protect elderly. That's very important. That's what I pointed out earlier. And if possible, work from home. That is the culture nowadays. And then you make it practical and keep shoes and chappals out of the house. That is very important. Next, vaccines. So this is the question that everybody is asking. So I may not be able to answer much about these vaccines, but I know that it could be still a distant dream. So there are so many people claiming that it will come by the end of December. Our Indian companies and as well as the foreign countries, all of them say that it will be available by end of December. But you must remember that an ideal vaccine should be very safe. That is one important. Even if people say that you take the vaccine, vaccine is ready, you take the vaccine. So the safety profile has been done for how long? 6 months is sufficient, because generally a vaccine takes more than 10 years to have the safety profile told outside. But this is an emergency situation. In emergency situation, you can take the vaccine, but the safety profile must be clearly explained by the company. Now, it should provide long-term protection. That is it. If you take a vaccine, you should not go and take the vaccine again after 3 months or after 6 months. So it should give you long-term protection. I'll tell you that people who have got coronavirus disease, the antibodies started declining in their body from 2 months to 70 days. The maximum antibodies we see is up to 3 months. So the antibody itself is getting, going out of the body, even if you get a coronavirus. So you think about the vaccine. And it should protect elderly people also, because usually vaccines are not very effective in elderly people because of the innate immunity development is poor. Now, different vaccine developers are adopting different technologies. So be very careful that what technology the person has, or the manufacturer has taken, and discuss with your caregiver. Now, there are more than 117 potential vaccine under study. With just, I looked into it yesterday, there were more than 170 vaccines. Now, which vaccine will be ready first? We need to wait and watch. So that is the status of vaccine. Next. So in conclusion, COVID-19 is spread by SARS-CoV-2 virus, you know, and that you know that 80% of infected people will have mild disease and get cured fast. So this is the most important thing. I think that everyone must be relieved by hearing my talk that 80% of the people will behave normally. And now, and another good news is that home isolation is available for us now. You need not go to the hospital, or you need not go to the Corona Care Center to treat yourself for the Corona positive patients. And elderly people with or without comorbidities may get moderate to severe illness. So that we do not know, we cannot upfront tell that who is going to get severe disease, who is going to get mild disease. And the children usually run a very mild course, and treat early. That is very important. The day you start the symptom, you go to the practitioner and you start the treatment. Treat early to prevent complications. There are effective antiviral drugs available now. A lot of drugs are there. There are newer drugs are coming in. It's all mostly oral forms. Some of them are injectable forms which can be used only in the ICUs. But there are several antivirals available in the market today. Now, preventive measures are most important. Social distancing, mask, and sanitizing. That is SMS. So that you must remember always. And you develop your immunity. That is most important. Diet, exercise, a lot of things counts. And stop smoking. And with this, I conclude my session, and you are welcome to ask me questions, and I'll be happy to answer to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you very much, sir. That was indeed a very detailed and informative session.
Just before you proceed, Doctor, I'll request all of them to please put your questions on the Q&A box and not on the chat box, because in chat box it tends to get lost with a lot of people sending on it. So request you to please post it on Q&A. Over to you for the Q&A session. And you can please please announce the WhatsApp number in which people can send you the questions directly.
Yes, you can send your questions to 9176247895. We have got questions both in the Q&A box and in WhatsApp as well. So I will compile both the questions, and I'll start with a few of them have asked similar questions. For instance, Padma and one more message in WhatsApp have asked if asymptomatic patients can spread the disease to others.
Yes, definitely. Because a symptomatic person means you are COVID positive, isn't it? Because the RT-PCR is positive, but you do not have symptoms. So you have a virus in your upper respiratory tract. So when you cough or when you sneeze or when you talk loudly, the virus particles can get dispersed in the air. So the other person who's standing in front of you without a mask can get infected. So the asymptomatic person, if you are COVID positive, can spread the disease. That is why we keep them in home isolation, ask them to wear mask, ask them to be in the room, and then we follow all the COVID home isolation protocol. So you are infected.
Thank you very much, sir, for clarifying that. We've got two questions, both are on similar lines. One from Mr. Saurabh and one from Mr. Harish. They are saying, Mr. Saurabh is saying he's got asthma and Mr. Harish has got bronchitis. What are the effects corona has on such patients?
So I told you that there are people with comorbidities. So chronic lung disease I mentioned. So asthma is a chronic lung disease. So some people may get it very rarely. People may wheeze every day. So they may require inhalers throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and throughout the year. So such cases they must be very careful about this disease. So suppose if you test positive, if the asthmatic test positive, you take your asthma medications regularly, and the symptoms are mild, you will get away with it by taking antiviral drugs, and the doctor will definitely give you a powerful antiviral drug which is available in the market. So you need not worry upfront that you are an asthmatic and you got a COVID-19 positive. So there are treatment schedules for asthmatics also. So don't worry that you have COVID positive.
Understood. So another anonymous question is it safe for a person with comorbidities to get hospitalized?
Yes. People with comorbidities, what usually we do is we assess the patient. Say, for example, so what is their level of oxygen? What is their blood pressure? What is their pulse rate? And whether the patient is looking very toxic. So there are certain criteria for us to differentiate that the disease is in stage 1 and the disease is in stage 2 and the disease is in stage 3. So stage 1, even if people who have comorbidities and even if they are elderly, I would rather initially say that if they are mild symptomatic, I will say that, okay, you can have home isolation, but keep in touch with me every day and check your saturation every day. And if it is going below 95 or you're touching 95, you inform me immediately so that I can immediately take you to the hospital and admit you in the ward. So that is the approach you should take for the patients who are having comorbidities.
Wonderful. We are getting questions pouring in from every corner. So I'll compile a few questions and ask you, sir. Lata Lakshmi asked, when do I know that I need to get myself tested? And similarly, there's one more question, which is, I have had fever for 3 to 4 days, but no throat problem. I didn't get tested, but got better on my own. Could I have had corona? So two questions, sir.
So both these questions I can answer together. First of all, you should know that the symptoms of corona is not only fever. It can be a combination of fever, cough, headache, and body ache, chills. All those can be in one person. Or some people can have only fever, that too a very mild fever. Some people can have fever for 3 days or even more than that. So people can have cough and fever together. Now, these things can vanish in 1 or 2 days' time. Now, it is very important that if you have a symptom like that, fever, cough, or anything, in this present pandemic era, you should consult your doctor. That is very important. Fever maybe a simple other virus fever, or maybe something else, maybe a urinary tract infection, or maybe a simple chest cold, or maybe a simple it can be a malaria also. It can be dengue also because the rains have started. So you must meet the medical officer and say that I have this kind of symptoms. What shall I do? So the medical officer will take care. So I would recommend that even if the symptoms go off, you should approach a medical officer and then see that what is the problem with you. Whether it has gone or not gone, you must evaluate that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Madhavan's question has already been answered by you in the presentation. I'll just read out the question so that you can know it. Can people above 60 without comorbidities be isolated at home?
Yes. If there is no problem, you can. Yeah, mild disease, you can.
Thank you. So there you have Mr. Madhavan. Mr. Subramanian has asked, can you suggest any diet restrictions or any healthy food for corona?
See, I would say that there is no diet restriction for corona, because you can see that so many people, some people are vegetarians, some people are non-vegetarians. It is not wiser to tell you that you take only vegetarian diet during corona, or you take only non-vegetarian diet. No, nothing like that. Whatever you eat, but eat nutritious food. That is very important. No burgers, no junk foods. Avoid all kinds of junk foods, which usually is not good for you. Take nutritious food, plenty of fruits, soups, vegetable soups, or you can have non-vegetarian soups also. Drink a lot of hot water, and all fruits are very important. All green vegetables are very important, and nuts. That kind of nuts can be taken. So have nutritious food in this form. Milk products, all are important.
Dr. Akanksha Sharma had also asked the same question. A similar question, as in what sort of food will increase the immunity? I think that was the answer for that question as well. So we will go ahead with the next question. Priyadarshini is asked, hi doctor, should we test COVID for kids if parents are COVID positive, or test only if symptoms are there in kids?
No. You should, if the kid is not having symptoms, you should test for COVID. It's very important. I'll tell you one thing. One remarkable thing which I am observing nowadays is, see, in a family, if there is one person COVID positive, usually in some families, no other people are positive. But in some families, 100% of the people are positive. It's all depends upon how the family behaves at home. Say, for example, if you have a habit of all the people sitting together and then talking each other every day, then definitely the virus would have been spread. Say, for example, I'll tell you one crucial thing, that you are infective 2 days prior to the start of symptoms. So you have no symptoms, but 2 days prior to the start of symptoms, you started infecting others. Now you get a fever on the 3rd day. And from the 3rd day, what you do is you take some native medicine, 2 days gone, and then you go to the medical officer and do the test, and that total 5 days gone. In all these 5 days, your people at home are exposed. Still, in some families, no one else gets the disease. So I think that there is a immune susceptibility to each patient or each person. Some people are susceptible to get coronavirus infection. Some people are not susceptible to get coronavirus infection. We do not know who will get coronavirus infection. So that is very important. So taking the fact that it's a child and both father and mother are positive, the child will be definitely in close contact with the parents. So I would recommend that the child also should get tested for coronavirus.
Wonderful. Thank you, doctor. So I'll compile 3 questions which seem similar, asked by Aarti Kannan, Rakesh Agarwal. Long duration of wearing mask during office hours have caused sore throat and headache. What can I do? And is it safe to wear mask while doing physical activity in terms of exercise?
Yes, that's a very good question, but so many people ask me. Now, wearing the mask in the office atmosphere for a long duration, you must see that the sweat from your face should not go into the mask. If the mask is wet, there is no protection at all. So you are likely to get infected if the mask is wet. Number one. The reason that you are getting a throat infection or you getting nose infection is because the filtration of bacteria which got adhered on the front side of the mask into your nose and throat. It may not be coronavirus because you are in the office atmosphere, you are traveling, so it may be some other bacteria, but it gets filtered and concentrated on your mask. So you may get sore throat and then some kind of sneezing. So what you should do is you should have a steam inhalation. As soon as you get back home, do a steam inhalation, do a warm saline gargling, and keep it a habit that as soon as you go out and come back home, do this first before you do anything else. And then people who have to wear masks for a long duration, I will advise them they carry 2-3 masks along with them. Change the mask once in 3 to 4 hours and wear the next mask. So in that way, you can avoid the prolonged use of a mask. And next thing, what you should definitely, I would say that if wearing a mask for a longer duration is very uncomfortable, because with the PPE kit what we wear, it is very difficult to breathe and then to work. You must know the difficulty of the healthcare workers dealing a COVID patient in the ICU. Really miserable. People do not know this. So I would definitely say that wearing mask for a long period is definitely difficult. But you have to get over this. Change your mask. And then the other question was, while you are doing exercise, yes, if the exercise area is very clean and you don't see that there won't be any contamination in the air, you can remove the mask and do your exercise. There is no problem at all, provided the room is very safe. That you must make sure.
Wonderful. That answers the question. Some of them have asked, is it helpful to wear gloves to prevent contamination?
See, wearing gloves for prevent contamination is good. That it's only for a short period. See, wearing a glove for about 3-4 hours and doing all the work with the glove, touching all surfaces and finally touching your face with the gloves, has no reason that you should wear a gloves. Better you hand wash, in between you hand wash. So suppose if you handle something, some important thing which you think that is contaminated, wear a glove, take out that and do the work, and then keep the thing away and then remove the gloves and throw it off. So that should be the idea of wearing mask, not that you wear the gloves and then move around for hours together.
Wonderful. That makes a lot of sense. So with that, we'll go with the next question. Before that, yes, this video is recorded and can be posted on Facebook, so you can view it later on also. And I'll ask a very important question, which is asked by Mr. Paul. I think it's a very technical question. Mr. Paul asks, what are the disabilities faced by persons who are cured of COVID-19? Are there any complications or impairments to body organs after being cured of coronavirus?
Very important question. We are breaking our head on that.
Yes.
So there are reports in medical journals from various parts of the world. And then we also see cases that if one person is cured of the COVID disease, they come back with breathing difficulty and they say, doctor, see, when I climb steps, I'm finding it very difficult to breathe. And then I have persistent cough even after 2 months of this disease. So they come back and then we check their saturation. Some of them drop the saturation from below 95 and few of them will have normal saturation. But what we do is a test is known as 6 minutes walk distance test. So you check your pulse oximeter saturation value. Yes, it is about 97. Fair enough. Okay, now I will walk for 6 minutes on my own pace. So you walk for 6 minutes. At the end of the 6 minute, you check your saturation. As the saturation is dropped to 92, yes, it is definitely is a sign of distress. So that is how we pick up that people desaturate on exercise. Such people should require thorough evaluation. Unfortunately, in the current pandemic, we are not allowed to do pulmonary function test or DLCO test, which can generate aerosols, and it can spread to the people who do the test. So we have not started pulmonary function test or DLCO test as yet now. Now, it is possible to do a CT scan on such patients. So if we do the CT scan, to our surprise, we used to see a lot of fibrosis in the lung. So people with COVID disease who had, I'm not telling about mild disease. I have not seen any cases with mild disease with coming into complication. But moderate diseases and severe diseases, they can develop interstitial lung disease later on when they advance or they go away from the infection. So this has to be carefully evaluated, analyzed, and treated. So the long-term complication of COVID-19 disease, the literature is still coming in, and we don't have a long-term study so far to answer you that question very correctly. Apart from the lung, the other organs, I have not seen any major issues, that unless some people who go into acute kidney injury during the course of the disease, they take a little more time to get back the renal function. And some people who go into sudden acute heart attack, they will require treatment for the heart attack and the coronary artery diseases later on in the course of the disease. And some people do get an oxygen, dropped oxygen level, so they may require home oxygen therapy. And some people get admitted with a stroke, and they may require treatment for the stroke once they get out of the COVID disease. I think this is what I can tell you right now with the available literature.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So before we go on to the next question, I request our Vice President, Mr. Sandeep Bagri, to felicitate Dr. Venugopal for acknowledging to give this awareness talk for the benefit of the society, and for BNI Warriors for organizing this. Is a team of 25 people who are facilitating this program to send an awareness to their friends, colleagues, and family so that we can have more information. So thank you, BNI Warriors. And Sandeep ji, kindly do the felicitation, followed by the vote of thanks.
My pleasure, and I sincerely thank Dr. K. Venugopal for taking the time out. For the benefit of the audience who are listening, the program is still not over. The Q&A will continue, but just in between, I would like to say thanks to Dr. K. Venugopal, who has taken his time out from his busy schedule to give an awareness talk on what to do if you are tested corona positive. So thank you so much, Doc. I know in this time we could not do more, but a digital certificate is what as token of appreciation and a thanks from our side to you. And for an amazing talk what you have given, an amazing knowledge what you have shared today. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the participants. Rakesh ji, thanks for being the coordinator and helping us in promoting the event. Thank you, Dr. Somu, to be the moderator and helping us in doing all these things. And thanks to BNI Warriors members and to all the participants who have joined in numbers today. Thank you so much. Over to you for the Q&A to continue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sandeep ji. Thank you, BNI Warriors, for organizing this. With that, we'll go on to the question which is repeatedly being asked by multiple people, namely Mr. Raghu, Mr. Daga, and Ms. Priyadashini. How important is it to get retested for COVID once a person is tested positive and treated in home quarantine for more than 14 days? And is it possible to get COVID once you have already gotten? And the third question in similar lines is, when do we know if you have to get tested for COVID-19?
the first two questions, I would start from the first question. Can you read the first question once again?
How important is it to get retested for COVID?
Yes. Okay. Now, the home isolation protocol, what we have now is, we treat the patient for 10 days in home isolation. And after 10 days, we think and we conclude that he is now no more infective, and we can leave him in the house itself, but not go out. So for 7 more days. So total 17 days from the day of onset of symptoms. Previously, we used to do the repeat RT-PCR test in every patient who are COVID positive. Now the ICMR has stopped doing this. They have told us not to repeat the RT-PCR test anymore because they are not infective after 10 days. Even though they are RT positive PCR positive, they are not infective. So there is no point in doing a second RT-PCR. But I have seen that with the good antiviral treatment, majority of the patients are RT-PCR negative at the end of the 14 days. A few people will go on to be positive for 3 weeks to 1 month, provided the reason for that is that they will have a high viral load, then the illness is prolonged, or these people will have a prolonged course of illness. They may be positive up to 1 month. So if you ask me that there is no need for repeat an RT-PCR after the treatment. So that is the first question. And the second question?
How often can you, what are the chances of getting COVID-19 the second time?
Okay.
After you've already been
there are reports from South Korea and then the European countries that people do get reinfected. China was the one who has reported most of the cases that they got reinfected, that they see that second wave has come in. So there are people who get second COVID infection. But from India, it has not been reported so far. Not that I also have not seen any cases in the last 3 to 4 months time, in my experience, that people are coming back with the similar reinfection.
Understood. So that was Padma Priyadashini's question. Ms. Daga has asked, is it advisable to have test as precautionary step?
No, because there is a time to do a RT-PCR test. That is probably 2 days prior to the onset of symptoms, and from the onset of symptoms to the 5th day. So if you do an early test, you won't be positive. If you do a late test, you will not be positive. So do the test once you are symptomatic. That is better.
So that answers that question. There are a lot of people who are asking that, okay, fine, I've got myself tested. What is the next thing to do? These are all multiple questions. Multiple people have asked the same question, so I'm rephrasing it. After getting tested, what is the next step to do? Where should I go if I should get admitted?
See, I clearly told in my presentation that, see, once you test positive, you need not get admitted. Not all people wants to get admitted. See, for example, those days in the beginning, we knew that, see, it was a fear at that time, that who will die, who will not die, and another kind of confusion. And then the whole thing was hyped by the media, and then coronavirus, so many people positive, so many people admitted in the hospital. The hospitals were full. Then the ICMR took a decision that, yes, not all patients with COVID positivity are having problems. So 80% of them are, can be managed at home without any complications. The only thing is you keep a watch, keep an open eye on these people. So it is not necessary that you should jump into conclusion that, oh, immediately I should go and get admitted. So what you should do is, if you get a symptoms like fever, cough, or any simple symptom, keep in touch with your family physician. That is number one. Second thing, if you are tested positive for corona, keep in touch with the family physician or the corporation medical officer whoever is near to you. So there is no need for you to get admitted. So in private setup, what people do is they will do a CT scan of your chest and then find out what is the extent of the disease you have, and accordingly they will decide whether you should be at home or whether you should be admitted or not. In government setup, you also, the doctors judge you whether you are in a position to have a home quarantine or you should be admitted. So there are ways of treating yourself. Do not get panicky at all. Both in the private and government setup, there are ways to treat a positive corona case.
Wonderful. Ashwini Goyal has been asking, what is the right way of doing steam inhalation and how frequently it can be done? Can it be done for kids also?
See, the right way of doing a steam inhalation, I don't know, everybody can afford that. The inhalers are available plenty in the market now. You go to the Amazon, you see a plenty of stuff on the thing and online. You can get one of those inhalers, because the traditional way of doing steam inhalation, in a pot you boil the water, keep it on the table, and then you cover your head with the towel. I have seen in my practice that a lot of people come back with the burns because they either spill the water on their thighs, on the chest, especially elderly people, and then they has to be treated for burns for a few more days. So this is the one major setback with the steam inhalation in the traditional way. But if you are careful, and you can do that, you can still do that. There is no need to put any medicine into the steam or water, so that the only plain steam is enough. You inhale through the mouth, you inhale through the nose also, so that the upper respiratory tract is completely sanitized with your steam. So if you have equipments for steaming, I would say that that is quite safe and it will not spill water, and then you can increase or decrease the dosage of vapor by adjusting the knobs. So that will be a better option rather than boiling water and keeping it on the table. Now, you can do steaming to the children, but make sure that the steam is very mild, not very, large or the very, very hot, that the children will get burned by themselves.
Thank you. That helps, sir. So there are a few questions which has been asked. Our Vice President has asked this question. What is the correlationship between blood group and COVID-19 infection?
Okay, studies are on. We are yet to get the whole thing out. But what we see that group A is more susceptible to get COVID infection than any other group. So it is still very early to tell you, but literature is pouring in. So it may take or maybe 3 months time to say that, yes, this is the group which is more susceptible for.
I see, I understand. Mr. Vivekananda has asked this question that it's getting very monotonous and tedious to do the grocery and vegetable washing every time you come home. And is there any simpler way of doing this process? And what are the chances of spreading COVID-19 from vegetables and grocery?
I told you that, see, chances of spreading COVID-19 from these articles are very minimal. If you are not careful, yes, probably you may get infected. Say, for example, let us take groceries first. If you go into the grocery shop, first and foremost is always better to get it online. Whether you like it or not, get it online. So you yourself reduce the exposure to the viruses in the grocery shop. That is number one. Do not enter a grocery shop where a lot of people are crowding in. And do not enter to the grocery shop because it is a closed area without you wearing a mask. I would advise you to wear a double mask, one mask over the other mask when you enter into a grocery shop to pick up things. First of all, sanitize your hand before you pick up any subject, any packets from the grocery store. And then once you pay the money, you usually use the e-mode of payment. If you wanted to handle cash, it is also is dangerous. So the changes what he is giving back may also contaminate your hands. So these are all important things which you will have to look into it. And then bring the groceries to your home. As I told you, if it can be kept in sunlight, keep it for sunlight for at least 2 hours, or at least keep it open in an open veranda or corridor or balcony, so that you do not touch it immediately. One step further, as I told you earlier, that the plastic, on plastic, the viruses can stay for 72 hours. It is unlikely that you get a packet from the grocery store has coronavirus sitting on that. But still, to be on double careful, you can just have sanitizer spray on that. So that can be one way of, sanitizing those plastic packets. And now let us take milk. The milk packets which is coming to us. Take the milk packet and wash it in soap water, and then dry it, and then keep it in the fridge or use it instead of directly using the packet, cutting the milk. So that is another thing which you can remember. And vegetables, wash it well. And even if the corona or no corona, it is always better to wash the vegetable, because nowadays we know that a lot of pesticides are used on the vegetables. So pick up the vegetable and then drop it into a bucket of water. Probably you can add a little salt and vinegar and then wash it off. Leafy vegetables, it's very difficult to keep this in the vinegar water. It may get spoiled. So there you have to take a chance. You can clean it under the running tap water and dry it off. So these are the methods, and these are not, foolproof methods, but the methods which to a certain extent will safeguard you.
So apart from vegetables and groceries, just redirect to a different phase. So any form of fomites can be addressed the same way by washing and exposure to sunlight. Will that be helpful?
Yes. Washable can be washed. Other things you can put it in sunlight.
I think that will answer the questions of the people who've been worried about fomites. So if you're making sure you're not contracting much of fomites, and even if you do, if you wash it and keep it under sunlight, that should help your question.
And one important thing is, Dr. Somu.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Somu. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The thing is, if you handle all those things, you do your hand washing. That is most important. By finishing all this, you do hand washing.
Wonderful. Rema Pillai is asking, what are the possibilities of COVID positive for a 65 plus person who has been treated for cancer 8 years ago? So is cancer going to be affecting the healing process of COVID-19 patients?
See, in my slide, I have pointed out that people with comorbidities, people who had cancer are immunocompromised people. But people who have cancer and they are on chemotherapy are more susceptible to get coronavirus disease, because the immunity is much less when they take chemotherapy. So if I compare with a person who had cancer in the past and if a person who has cancer now and is on the chemotherapy, I would say that more caution has to be taken for the person who is on chemotherapy who have cancer presently. People who had in the past may be less likely to have COVID unless and until they are exposed to large viral particles. So the immunity is slightly better. But anyhow, cancer is considered as a comorbid condition.
Cancer, asthma, bronchitis, diabetes, all these are comorbid conditions, sir?
Yes, all are comorbid conditions.
So all the people who have been asking, there are multiple questions which is specifically asked to that particular disease. So I'm narrowing down the questions. All the people who are asking about asthma, diabetes, bronchitis, cancer, or any immunocompromised disease, especially if it is got diseases involved to breathing problem, these are considered as comorbid diseases. So for your clarification, please understand that this is the answer to all those questions, not just specifically to
One thing I want to specify that by saying that comorbid conditions can increase the susceptibility of the disease, I won't say that all these people will get corona disease. That also is very important. Don't think that if you have cancer, don't think that if you have diabetes, you will get corona disease. No, that's what I told you, that there is a host susceptibility. Some people will get it, some people may not get it. That is true with people with comorbidity also. Second thing, if you are exposed to a high viral load, yes, you may get it. If you are exposed to a very minimal viral load, you may not get it. So don't get afraid that you have diabetes, oh, I will get cancer, corona disease. So you have to take this take-home message is very important.
Before you proceed, Doc, we will have last 2 to 3 questions or max 4 questions as the time is running out. So please take care of that.
Followed by that, if you have any more questions, please to send it across to the WhatsApp message. We will try to answer as many questions as possible. The number is 9176247895. With that, we'll go to the next question. Okay, this is a repeated question by Mr. Ramakrishna, but I'll still read it out. His wife had gotten body pains 2 to 3 days. For 2 to 3 days. On the 4th day, she was normal. There was no fever, but after 10 days, she was tested, and on the 14th day, she was tested positive. On 10th day, she was not positive. Only on the 14th day, she was tested positive. What has to be done is what he's asking.
So yes, here also I'll quickly summarize the answer. It is very unusual to have the COVID positivity after 15 days of onset of symptoms. So what you have to do is you just see that whether she has any comorbid conditions. If she has any comorbid conditions, yes, it is better to treat with antivirals. That will be my answer to that. Or if she is completely asymptomatic and she do not have any comorbid conditions, she is healthy, it is just wait and watch. And then probably she should get isolated herself, that she will not spread it to the others.
There's been one question all the way from Bangalore. Is it advisable to have oxygen cans or facility in home or in a isolation center in your community?
For this, the answer is, we decide that the patient should go home with an oxygen by looking at the arterial blood gas analysis. They simply measuring the pulse oximeter may tell us that the saturation is less, but the degree of less saturation has to be judged by looking at arterial blood gas analysis. So along with that only we decide that how we prescribe oxygen for a person who is going home. So there is no point in keeping oxygen at home if you do not have any problem. And oxygen must be used by the advice of a medical practitioner only. You cannot just like that start oxygen, because if you see that the pulse oximeter shows the saturation is less than 95 and you start oxygen yourself, you may be asking for trouble. So don't start oxygen and don't keep oxygen cylinders at home or in the community center. It has to be in the hospital setup and in the house setup if the doctor advises.
Wonderful, thank you, sir. So the next question is, how do I differentiate between viral fever and COVID fever? It's a very common question.
It's very difficult. See, the difference between viral fever and COVID fever is, viral fever runs a milder course, and it runs for 3-4 days. You will have associated nasal stuffiness, sneezing and all. But this is common to COVID also. But the most important thing with the COVID fever is the fever which hits you hard. The thing is that you will lie down in the bed and you won't like to do anything at all. You will just lie down like that till the fever is there. And the next moment the fever is gone, you are up and back to normal. You will say that, oh, I don't have anything at all. So that is the kind of scenario in COVID-19. Rather than in a viral fever, you will be continuously ill for 3-4 days. So, but still, While looking at the symptom alone, you cannot say that whether it is a simple viral fever or it's a COVID fever. So you need to meet the medical officer and sit at least a CBC blood count to see that whether you have features of some COVID pathology in your blood count.
So Manishan has asked, is it possible that I can get corona and I didn't know about it?
If you are an asymptomatic person, it is possible. And then your chances of getting cured without you knowing it is also possible. So if you are an asymptomatic person and if you are getting corona, for you, it's okay. There is no problem. But the problem is that you may spread it to the others near to you.
So the last three questions of the session I'll be taking live. Followed by that, you can send in the questions to the WhatsApp number. We'll try to answer your questions. So the first question is vitamin supplements. So zinc and vitamin supplements taken in tablet form, is it needed? If so, how long should the course be? And is it helpful? And is that the only option?
During COVID-19 disease, you have to take zinc, at least 200 milligrams of zinc per day. You can see some of the zinc preparations will have 15 milligrams, 20 milligrams. No, that is not sufficient. You should have a zinc preparation which is having at least 150 milligrams to 200 milligrams per day. Vitamin C, 1000 milligrams per day in 2 divided doses, that 500 milligram in the morning, 500 milligram at night. And then you do not know the status of your vitamin D levels. So you should have a vitamin D preparation at least weekly once. And then you should have other good nutrients followed by these kind of vitamins.
Srilata PV, hope that answers your question. Ambika K has asked, when will my loss of smell and taste come back? When will the loss of smell and taste come back?
Yeah, I told you that you are lucky if you have loss of smell and loss of taste. But this is going to come back within 7 to 10 days time. Some people I have seen that as early as 3rd day, they say that, sir, I am much better now, I don't have any problem. So one thing which you will have to understand clearly that this coronary disease is different in different people. We do not know why it is so, because there is no standard thing which I can say that, oh, in corona disease, these all things will happen. No, one person is different from the other person. So it is very difficult to tell you when you are but at least within 10 days time, you will get it back to normal.
I think with that, we'll take the last question, and we have come to the end of the session. It's 12:30. Doctor is kind enough to extend and stay back for more than 1.5 hours to stay and give explanation to the entire public and the common people, all our friends and families and colleagues. The video will be available for viewing on Facebook, VNI Warriors page, and you can always contact us on 9176247895 with questions. We will try to answer as many questions as possible. If we have missed out any of your questions, please do understand we have been flooded with questions in the Q&A section in the live and as well as WhatsApp number. So if you have missed it out, it is not intentional. We have just skipped it. We would have overlooked it. I would have overlooked it. With that, we'll come to the last question. How effective are masks and social distancing in India, given the high population density? This was asked by Mr. Arvind.
That is a very, very good question in Indian scenario. Probably not in Indian scenario, worldwide. There are people who are crowded, living together, and then it is very difficult to keep the physical distancing in a crowded room where there are 4 or 5 people live together in a setup, or in a small house where 1 or 2 rooms, people cannot practice social distancing. It is very difficult to wear a mask also. I have seen that people walking on the street, in the grocery shop, everywhere, mask hanging on the chin. Nobody wears mask properly. So this is very difficult in Indian setup. It has been seen in Western setup also. You see that in United States, people do not wear mask. So it's all things, you know, which can happen. So in Indian scenario, it is very difficult. At least let us talk about our Indian scenario. It is very difficult for them to wear a mask and to keep social distancing. But you can see that what happened in Dharavi, one of the largest slums in the world. So Dharavi, there was a cluster of cases initially, and now what happened? There is no cases. The cases have come down. It has come down drastically. How? If you think that a place like Dharavi had a cluster of cases, it should spread like wildfire, but it has not spread. So this is what I'm again telling, that host susceptibility is very important. Not everyone gets corona positive if you are exposed to coronavirus. So it is very difficult. I'll tell you that in Indian scenario, it is very difficult to have social distancing, very difficult to have wearing mask also. But you must remember that something above us is protecting us. So you must have faith in that something above us. That is very important.
Wonderful. I think that is a wonderful way to sum up the session. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Venugopal, sir. I think we have tried to answer most of the questions. And so let us be positive. Let us make sure we are maintaining the SMS like sir told. Make sure you're sanitizing yourself, wearing mask, maintaining not social distancing, but physical distancing. It makes a lot of sense when you change the words. We are really glad that Dr. Venugopal was kind enough to acknowledge and address the gathering today. We have had more than 100 people live attending on Zoom and people viewing this webinar from Facebook Live. This video is also recorded and will be shared as a post, so you can see this view this meeting for a later date. And we thank BNI Warriors Chennai CBDA region for organizing this event. The entire team of 25 members were essential in promoting for a noble cause of spreading awareness and preventing panic amongst the public. So please do go and view this video, which is available on BNI Warriors page on Facebook. Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. Thank you, Mr. Rakesh, for organizing this event. It was a
Thank you, Dr. Somu. And special thanks to Dr. Venugopalji and all the participants for attending the session. We are still getting a lot of questions, as doctor said. Since we are now time bounded, you can send your questions to WhatsApp number 917-624-7898. We'll try to answer all your questions. Thank you.
I'll repeat the numbers: 9176-247895. Thank you very much. With that, we have come to a close for this webinar session. Hope we have done justice for your time. Thank you very much, Dr. Venugopal, again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
doctor.
BNI
Thank you,
Warriors
sir.
and people who have watched me closely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. With that, we will end this meeting. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you. So I'll be ending the meeting now. Thank you.